What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for September 30th, 2023. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Quick housekeeping notes before we get into it. And a few of you have reached out asking my thoughts on the Chris Sims comments. And to be quite honest, the dude's a clown, and I didn't necessarily want to address and give it any more publicity or airtime than what it deserves. I feel like he just throws stuff out there to see what sticks, and by responding to it and getting all worked up, like, I doubt you're going to see guys in the NFL going after Jalen Hurts because of the tush push. But like, to have a take like that is just idiotic, and just goes to show what kind of person he is. One of those, hey, my daddy was famous, and like, you're a clown, bro. So, not worth reacting. That's all I have to say about that, as far as Gump would say. Also, be sure to check out the latest Back to the Future. We took a look at, speaking of clowns, Scott Rowland and the Phillies Wall of Fame, and just, is it getting watered down based on what they've been electing in recent years? So be sure to take a listen to that, or watch on YouTube. Back to the Future with a PH. Okay, getting into some real stuff now. The Eagles, some good news and some bad news. Hassan Reddick practiced for the first time yesterday without the cast on his hand, and said he felt much better and was able to do more pass rushing techniques that he hadn't been able to do with the cast on. That is a good sign, especially when you're going against a team on Sunday that gives up a shit ton of sacks. So, not going into picks. I'll do that tomorrow morning. But that bodes well for the Eagles defense, especially because Sidney Brown will be out with that hamstring injury, and the Sixers. The Eagles will be down to like their top four safeties will be out, or some crazy thing like that. So they're going to need to get pressure on Sam Howell. So the fact that Hassan Reddick is feeling good, has the cast off his hand, and had a great week of practice, or I should say a good day of practice without the cast, that bodes well. Quez Watkins is out, and we'll see. I like Olamide, so that shouldn't be that big of a miss. Devontae still didn't practice with that illness. Hopefully by tomorrow he is better. I don't necessarily think he's going to miss that game, though. But more Eagles coverage tomorrow. But if you want to get pumped up for the game, check out my boys over at the Clashing Conferences podcast, anywhere you get your podcasts, or on YouTube. It was an interesting week this week since the Eagles were the only team that won. They get prepared for another intra-division matchup between Washington and the Eagles. So be sure to check them out, the Clashing Conferences podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, and on YouTube. Phil's got rained out yesterday, so they'll play a doubleheader today. I'm not really sure how that impacts the bullpen and the pitching staffs with days off and things like that, since Tawan Walker likely wasn't going to be one of the guys pitching as a third starter next week. So I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal, but we'll see. But 2 games against the Mutts today. You got to love it. There was the lottery for playoff tickets. Best of luck to anybody who entered. If you are going, that's awesome too. I would love to try to get down to one of those playoff games this year. It's been a long time for me since I've been in a playoff game. So if you want to give me some free tickets, I'll take them. Also, some sad news from the former Philly camp. Our old pal Gabe Kapler was fired yesterday, and looking at some of his stats, I have to say, dude is overrated. And like, the fact that he got so much love out in San Francisco for that 107-win season, but like, if you look at the rest of his career, he was basically a 500 manager. So I don't know. We'll see. Go to Back to the Future and check out the Wall of Fame stuff. Hopefully they're not going to think about putting Gabe Kapler on the Wall of Fame at some point. Sheesh. Want more Phillies coverage, though? Only 2 days left now to take advantage of the 75% off of the subscription at 2008 Phils. All the info you need is in the description here. Get you that 2008 World Series banner t-shirt, access to everything on their site. 2008 Phils will follow your Twitter. And then you get access to autographs, giveaways, and things like that. But the content itself is worth it for $20 a year, $2 a month. Go check it out in the description. Only 2 days left to get that 75% off exclusively for This Day in Philly Sports History listeners. No real Sixers news today to report. I know now they're saying the Sixers, which I don't think is a shock, don't really have the pieces to go after Drew Holiday, which they don't. The only way they're going to be able to make a trade or do anything is if they include James Harden. But I am noticing more and more people that are kind of ripping James Harden on this and basically taking a very similar stance to me, which maybe they're listening. So if you're listening, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe so you can stay up to date. But they're just saying, like, you get 1 or 2 times to do this, and now this is your 4th time, and it's just like, I don't know. As Jim Schwartz used to say, you just keep doing dumbass things, people are going to think you're a dumbass if the shoe fits. Flyers won against Boston. It was preseason, but 4-3 in a shootout. I did not watch it, but from everything I read this morning, it seems like the young guys are really coming together, and I think that's going to be the important piece to this season. And you look at the Sixers now, and I think it's a fair comparison with what they did with the process and just the losing culture. And I've talked about this. I think for the Flyers this year, this is going to be key, is getting that team to grow together and kind of have that winning mentality. So maybe you're not going to beat the Bruins 4-3 in a shootout in the regular season, but maybe you play hard against them. Maybe you get some key stops. So it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a bumpy, long season for the Flyers, but I do think, like, getting those small victories, it's going to be good to build up that culture. So I like what I see when they do something like this in the preseason. Yes, it's only preseason, but that could be a good stepping stone, a good catalyst, because these young guys are playing well. Union in action tonight against the Columbus Crew, and this is actually a very big game. The Union are only 1 point out of that second seed in the MLS playoffs, but Columbus is only 1 game behind the Union in third. They're tied with a couple teams, so this is a huge game. So hopefully there's one of the last 2 games they play. You'd love to get the 2 points here. So we'll have more of an update on that tomorrow. I do want to take a minute, too, and say if you are a new listener, welcome. This is This Day in Philly Sports History, and we do that. Just take a look at This Day in Philly Sports History. And with that being said, we are going to go back to 2007. And on this day, back in 2007, it was a big day in Philly sports history. This was the day that the Phillies clinched that NL East division title for the first time when the Mets choked on the final day of the season. But the story we're going to go with tonight is the New York Giants did get some revenge for New York on Sunday Night Football that evening. They beat the Eagles 16-3, and it really wasn't even that close of a game. Donovan only went 15 for 31 for 138 yards, but it was not his fault considering he was under pressure most of the night. He was sacked an NFL record 12 times that night. Yes, 12. Trey Thomas got hurt early. Second-year tackle Winston Justice came in and decided to do his best impersonation of a turnstile and allowed 6 sacks to UC Umanora, or OC Umanora. Never mind his name, and it cracks me up. But he tied the 12 sacks tied the modern NFL record because the sack was not an official stat until 1982. But in 1952, the Eagles did sack the Giants quarterbacks 14 times, but it wasn't an official stat. So on this day, Donovan was sacked 12 times, 6 by OC Umanora, and Winston Justice gave up all 6 of them. He ended up being a decent player, but for all of us here in Philly, it was nothing could have dampened that win over the Nationals that got the Phillies the NL East title. But 16-3, the Giants did get some revenge for New York that evening. Okay, time to go to who wore it best. And before we get into it, I've been saying this, and Ryan, if you're listening, I know you come out with new shirts all the time. Maybe we could get like some kind of number shirt for this day and do a collaboration with Philly Goat. But go to Philly Goat. You got the Union playoff push kicking up. You got the Red October coming. You got the Eagles season in full gear, Sixers and Flyers getting ready to kick off. Just go and buy the shirts. They have hoodies. They have hats. There's just so much, and they really do. Like, I feel like they're always coming out with a new shirt. So go to phillygoat.com. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off of your order. Ryan, let's get something going for these numbers. But unfortunately, today is the last day for Who Wore It Best. Had a lot of fun. I will be posting the list of who won each number on my social media posts as soon as the votes are tallied tomorrow. But thank you for your participation. This has been a lot of fun. But let's recap number 27, and it was not even close. Ron Hextall wore number 27 the best with 71%. And I'll get more into this tomorrow, but what this goes to show to me is that despite the fact that the team is not very good right now, there's a lot of love for the Flyers out there, and a lot of Flyers have won the jersey or who wore best numbers throughout the month. And I think, like I said, that's a testament to the strength of the Flyers fans. It's just the team is not very good right now, but they're on their way back. I'm calling it. I've been telling you. I'm going to say it again. Get on that bandwagon. But Hextall won with 71% of the vote. I really thought that Malcolm Jenkins, being the leader of that Super Bowl team, would have gotten more of the vote. But like I said, this goes to show the love that the Flyers have in the city of Philadelphia. But again, I will post that list on all my social medias starting tomorrow. Maybe not until Monday because I'm going to the Eagles game. But that list will be up, so be sure to check that out. All right, today we're going to end the month on Who Wore It Best, number 56. And currently, there only one person wears number 56, and that is Tyler Steen for the Eagles. Some other notables, Super Bowl representative last year, Isaac Seumalo. Chris Long, Super Bowl winner. Derek Burgess for 1 year in Philly before he went to the Raiders and became an All-Pro. Mike Caldwell, Zach Eflin, Kevin Duckworth, Claude Giroux wore it for 2 games his rookie year. He came up and played 2 games that first year and wore number 56. But today it comes down to 3. And I'm anxious to see how this one goes. First, we have 2 Eagles and 1 Philly. Let's start with the Philly, and that is Joe Blanton, Heavy B himself. 5 years, he compiled a 34-25 record, almost 500 strikeouts, 4.47 ERA, but they don't win the 08 World Series without making that trade for Joe Blanton. A couple weeks ago, we did a Back to the Future episode on him, so be sure to check that out. But he was a key piece of that team during that playoff run. He famously hit the home run in the World Series against the Rays. Pitched well for them in 2009, 2010. Kind of was the forgotten man in that rotation once they started bringing in Cliff Lee, Roy Halladay, Roy Oswald. But he just went out there and pitched, got hurt in 2011. And I wonder if in 2011 they may have fared a little bit better in that series against the Cardinals had they had Joe Blanton. A healthy Joe Blanton, I'll say. But he probably will be the last pitcher to ever hit a home run in the World Series, so that's cool. But again, very, very underrated in his time in Philly, but they don't win that World Series without Joe Blanton. Next up, we have Jerry Robinson, who played middle linebacker for the Eagles for 6 years, had 6 interceptions, 8.5 sacks, was a Pro Bowler in 1981, 2-time second-team All-Pro, played on that Super Bowl 15 team, and was the last Eagle linebacker to be chosen in the first round until Nolan Smith was this past April. So just goes to show kind of the organization's feeling on first round linebackers, to be honest. But kind of overshadowed a lot by Bill Bergey. But Jerry Robinson in his own right was a solid player and a key contributor to that Super Bowl 15 or the NFC Championship team that lost in Super Bowl 15. So Jerry Robinson, number 56. And finally, one of my all-time favorites, Byron Evans, played 8 years at middle linebacker for the Eagles, 3.5 sacks, 13 interceptions, 6 fumble recoveries, and a touchdown. Seemed to be always clutch and making big plays. Very underrated, and I always feel that this was always a question mark by the national people for the Eagles that they didn't have a middle linebacker that could play comparatively speaking to the rest of that defense. But Byron Evans, man, I feel like he was one of those dudes that always came up and made a big play. Very smart player, had a nose for the football. Let me see if I can think of any other football cliches to throw in there. High motor guy. But in all seriousness, I think he was very underrated. One of my favorites. Unfortunately, got a freak injury that he broke his leg and tore his ACL in the same season. And happened to be, unfortunately, in a contract year too, and just never made it back from that. He does some coaching now. I forget one of the schools, his alma mater, where I forget which school in Arizona he went to. But coaching out there now. But Byron Evans. So now it's your turn. Who wore number 56 the best on the last day of our Who Wore It Best month? Is it Byron Evans? Is it Jerry Robinson? Is it Joe Blanton? Let me know. Get those votes to me. And like I said, thank you so much for the participation. This has been a lot of fun doing this. Remember, starting tomorrow, it's all about getting ready for that Philly Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony. So stay tuned for that. We got a lot of different things we're going to be doing throughout the month of October. On this day, back in 2007, the Giants tried to spoil and get some revenge for New York for the Phillies winning the NL East, beating the Eagles 16-3, sacking Donovan 12 times while Winston Justice did his best SEPTA turnstile at the subway impersonation, letting O.C. Umenora get 6 sacks. And I still, every time I hear Umenora's name, my brother at Eagles games would go, the guys wearing his jersey, and would always say, "You're a Menora." The most ridiculous thing ever, but whenever I hear O.C. Umenora's head, that's all I can think of. So that's why I was laughing when I was going through that. But yeah, 12 times Donovan was sacked. Yikes. All right. Be sure to go check out our boys at the Clashing Conferences podcast. Go buy some shirts and hoodies. It's hoodie season. Go buy some hoodies at phillygoat.com using that promo code. Only 2 days left for the 2008 Phils. 75% off of your subscription. Chris Sims, you're a clown. Let's go Phils. Beat the Mutts twice today. Go enjoy your Saturday. Go hang out with your kids playing soccer. Whatever you got planned for today. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History. I'm Jim Montgomery. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.